Alex Answer here, coming to you from my new sacred space, not too far away from where I'm residing. And it's important that I remind all of you that it's our responsibility to do what we have to do. And we can be distracted by what's on the internet, by what's going on next door, by what's going on in our local downtown, by what's going on at the local protests, but ultimately we're responsible for ourselves and what we do. But also, we're responsible for our own protection. We've got to protect ourselves from the interference that's going on. And I'm not the only one that's noticed it. So one of the things that I want to echo from an earlier video is the importance in knowing how to deal with the archonic interference in other human beings and keeping your own energy within your own field and what that entails. And it does help to incorporate meditation into it, but ultimately, if you're anything like me, life experience has taught you about the bizarre personalities that are out there in today's day and age. You know, there's a number of ways to describe it, to describe what's become a more popular sociopathic mindset. And people use different terms and people have different theories, but a lot of us, to a certain degree, are on the same page. Where some of us are still in a development mode because we're still in a fairly new age of technology. This is still something fairly new, this whole experience. So there's good that comes from this. There's also an exchange of energy when we're communicating with people across thousands of miles. It can also be very negative, or when we come across propaganda or disinformation, especially when it was made by someone thousands of miles away and it was packaged to be something that it's actually not. There's a lot of that disinformation going on right now. And so we should be looking at these different examples in the world, at the different interferences, and ask ourselves, why is there such an attempt to control us with disinformation? What does it say about the power of truthful knowledge and information? And I would even go further and say there's something healing and powerful about sharing the truth. Now, there are some people that like to brand the truth, even put it on a t-shirt, when the truth is anything but what they're putting out on some of their channels. And unfortunately, in this fallen world, those that seem to be the most popular, if you will, the most watched, are those that are the most deceptive, that will speak in a particular tongue. I would even say there's something about their glow or their spirit that other spirits are easily duped by. And there's various prototypes. And people can get swept up in it if they don't know the program. If they don't know that in this matrix, some people are rewarded by their deceptions. Some people have a flawed understanding of the law of attraction. There's a role for some of us to play here on the earth to expose certain things. It's not just one of us. There are many of us. That doesn't mean that things are going to be easy. You could be one of those individuals. And it may not even have anything to do with what you're saying or doing on the internet, but who you are as a soul. More so, your frequency. Something about you, your soul evolving. Maybe the clearing of certain entities. Who knows what it is? And you may find yourself in a situation where you're going, wow, when it rains, it pours. Different scenarios. Homelessness, sudden moving, relationship change, job change. Maybe even a change of heart in the things that you were interested in, maybe a yearning. And maybe it's important to listen to our pain instead of stuff it with drugs and alcohol, as this society will tell us too. Materialism. Women, men, whatever the case may be. A society that literally promotes being inebriated from one substance to another. Confusing often at times pleasure with spirituality. We see many of the men and women and the men, as the masses are literally swimming in a collective mind. And then there are those of us that are in the observer perspective that are seeking to raise our consciousness above one that is dictated by the hive mind, so we can evolve beyond that type of reality, beyond that world, beyond this world, because that's what this conversation is really about. That's what a lot of videos on my channel are really about. It's about evolving beyond the spiritual soul prison that for whatever reason we're in for an unknown number of lifetimes. We're here. And we're here in a reality that seems on one level on teetering on the edge of collapse, of world war and conflict, of a zombie apocalypse, of everything going wrong. That is, if we have our consciousness constantly on the internet and what the top voices, the trending voices, what the algorithms, that's right, the algorithms of the social media companies, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the list goes on. You'll notice the promotion of fear-laced, toxic disinformation of different groups playing people off against one another at spiritual warfare. So in this lifetime, for whatever reason, I have spoken against that, and I think it's for a reason. I think it's something that I, as a soul, individually have been tasked with, to discuss the idea of spiritual warfare. And the greatest conspiracy is turning the illusion of races against the illusion of races and maintaining the control structure from there. It's a blueprint, and it's very easy to do with technology. It's very easy to do when you control the algorithm. It's very easy to do when you already have people broken down with not only the food, the water, but their consciousness broken down and then put into, this reality where many people are addicted to their flat screens, their smartphones. And so there's some sort of a trust type of thing developed between them and especially some of the top figures out there that are the top purveyors of this disinformation. It's also ironic to notice certain people that are putting out the same disinformation and even reading scripture, but doing anything but promote the real teachings of Jesus. It's nice to have such a bright sun here today, by the way, at 8,000 feet here in rural Colorado. It's important that people do things for the right reason. Because if they say that they believe in God, or that they are interested in seeing people's souls, whether they would say saved or something else, or maybe other people might use the word their consciousness expanding, their soul evolving beyond this soul prison, or I've given a reference to that as well. It's important that people be genuine and not just say the right buzzwords, but to ultimately keep people in the hive mind. And so I can see certain people that have basically cursed Google, cursed YouTube for their alleged censorship, as they're literally at a growth rate of 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers per day at this rate with their particular coverage of events. There is some really bizarre mental health issues that have developed with a lot of human beings, men and women, women and men, on the internet. And it's a double-edged sword. It can literally fry brains like crack. Or it can help us evolve, share information and ideas, that at one point in time people died for sharing or speaking of. You see, when people say we should be grateful to be an American, how deep do they take that meaning? Because I actually take that pretty profoundly deep. I don't always get into it. We have a lot of opportunity for those of us that are souls in America today to evolve greatly in a number of ways. One is the access to information. You can also say the Western world. Because see, I don't get to reach the whole world on YouTube. I get to reach the part of the world that the elite have designated safe for YouTube. And they do control both sides. That's why you have that Google China overlay with the Chinese style censorship and Google going along with it. Something that was news a couple years ago. There was outrage at that time. And so we need to take advantage of the gifts we've been given. One of the gifts that human consciousness has, that other entities, and entities is a larger definition. It doesn't just mean supernatural. I'm an entity, you're an entity, so is that ant, that fly that just flew over. As humans alive today, we have technology our ancestors did not have. Okay, we have access to technologies that are used for disinformation, and while there is time, I say we should do what's right and impact what we can. And that is in light of the inevitable, seemingly outcome of that some people may view the future as a future not worth fighting for. Although we're not really talking about fighting, but it's an expression of speech, right? Living for a future worth living for. And I think that's something that a lot of people have forgotten on the yellow brick road of life, where they should have been looking at the man behind the curtain, not their neighbor, or a guy who has the wrong skin tone, or people judging all whites for the actions of the system. We see this level of divide and conquer, divide and rule all over. I've been watching it my entire life. Hell, I got 8 years of being judged by the Democrats for not getting behind Obama, and then I got the same thing from the Trump supporters, and what it's doing, it's not going to drive me insane. It's just catapulted me to a greater level of detachment from trying to even reach these people, and I'm reaching the people instead that are watching this right now. This video right now. We're responsible for our own spiritual growth in light of the Archonic interference. And as we grow as souls, as we grow as spirits, we're going to encounter more backlash. And we've got to take these opportunities that we're facing and learn to use them as tools. And see these challenges, these people that bring these challenges as our teachers. So yes, there's a reason why I'm choosing to be away from a dense population, but I certainly haven't escaped the matrix. I see this as more of the more beautiful, prettier side of the prison planet. And I'm very grateful to have this opportunity, but I'm still in the same world. But I do feel that I'm more effective at reaching you, at talking about issues that affect the whole, wherever you're watching. There are many viewers in Europe. And I think this is more important, talking about things of the spirit to a larger audience than thinking of micropolitics to a smaller audience or a smaller region. Although, every now and then, I will report on news and information because I'm versatile. I like doing different things. But at the core of what this channel is about, we come back down to this realization that we are responsible for our own evolution as souls. And many of the things, I do believe that many of the things that are happening to us happen for a reason. Everything. The very fact that we were born into this particular lifetime, even if it's soul matrix controlled by spiritual parasites, there's still control over control. There's a larger reason why we fell into this world or why we're even here. And I often contemplate, it comes and goes, but it's the idea of a shared soul. And I'm not telling you what to believe, and I'm not telling you have to believe what I believe. I believe there's a reason why there's so many of us on the planet right now. Okay, and it seems that some souls are part of a collective, and that could be, it's defined by different ways. And if I use terminology used by others, it doesn't mean that we have the same spiritual beliefs. But soul group family, there's something to that. And I'm talking about packs of humans that seem to be connected by their common goal in this lifetime that is of a collective nature. And so it really seems that those souls in human bodies are bound by their mission, and some are on the dark side. And that's why some people are able to network with others really easily and be rewarded by the archons of this world. It's the role that they're playing in the destabilization, in the divide and conquer. Meanwhile, there's those of us where we're having our own parallel experiences and synchronicities, right? Miracles, things along the way. That's why some of us end up travelers for at least a period of our life, and we experience literally what the universe brings to us on its own, having that faith, whether it be a God, idea, understanding, universe. I do want to say that I was very pleased. Is it Gnostic realism or rationalism? But it was a YouTube channel where his discussion of the alleged real teachings of Jesus. Also, he was doing a reading of the Gospel of Mary, a Gospel of Philip, and other spiritual-based understandings of Gnostic thought with a very, what I believe to be accurate, very close to my own understanding of the archons and what they're doing here. And so, there's a lot of things covered in this video, but we really have to maintain our spiritual growth more now than ever in our inner sight, because our world is being manipulated and we're going to the next level of manipulation. that should keep it short and sweet. And they have technology at their fingertips, and there's something far more sinister behind AI. You know, it's not just like machines on its own, or people like Elon Musk. There's something behind all of this, behind the surveillance of human beings, behind each one of us, even our YouTube channels. It's like Earth really is a petri dish of sorts. It's unfortunate that so many people have fallen into the flat Earth psyops, and have literally fallen so low in their cognitive function that they're harassing people that don't necessarily buy into what appears to be an internet psyops promoted by YouTube, promoted by Facebook. How is it that so many conspiracy theorists, right, aren't realizing that social media understands there's a lot of conspiracy theorists, and certain things they push literally to the top of the charts? So people see that video, and people aren't even questioning what's going on. Rather than debate whether the Earth is flat or round, the question is, what kind of reality is this? If things happen for a reason, why are we here? Because we're not here to play victim. And people actually play Orwellian mind games on people that are awakening. Oh, you're just looking for a simple explanation for all things with random information that you found on the internet, or you're just trying to play victim, when in fact we're evolving our consciousness and we're looking at these social complex issues from a far more evolved state than a lot of people that are still in line over at McDonald's waiting for the Szechuan sauce about to riot. The very fact of questioning, that is what makes us a human in evolution, in my book. And especially when the philosopher or someone embarks upon that path, asks the question without the answer already immediately being present. But asking. See, there's a reason why bookstores exist. Even if there's a lot of gamers out there right now and people living in the comment section, there's a reason why bookstores exist. When people write books and they tell stories, and the impact of the internet and social media, to a certain degree, it allows us to connect. That's a mindful use of the sword on another element. It puts some people to sleep to where they're writing elements of their book on friggin' crackbook. And even myself, I'm not perfect. I've learned a lot from my own actions. The way I look at my own life and the things that I've learned, the mistakes that I made, the way I look at it, there's a lot that other people can learn from my own mistakes and from my own journey. When I put videos out there saying be careful with some of these intentional communities, why do I do that? Because some people aren't as nice as they seem on Facebook. That's why. That's why. Some people play games. Why? It's their human nature. Some people seem to be walking around with the kick me sign. Sometimes I felt like I was that guy, walking around with the kick me sign. A lot of bad luck with certain situations. Right now, for the time being, I'm in a situation where I can be alone. And I'm grateful for that. Of course, I really felt a sense of isolation over the course of the eclipse. But you know what? I also don't feel guilty for purging emotions. That seems to be natural as well. See, we're taught to be afraid of pain and afraid of emotions, and certain things I think that we need to explore more within us, instead of numbing out in the way that people numb out. And the effects, of course, of a smartphone addicted population, it's not just like the propaganda that I talked to you about that people are buying into. It's the actual physiological, cognitive effects of being addicted to a flat screen or a false light. And there's an argument being made that people are becoming dumber. And to a certain degree, I feel like I see evidence of intuition in some. I believe that we all have that ability to a certain degree. But others, I see a major lack of it, where they may have been more intuitive 10 years ago, 20 years ago. See, this is like the opposite of what a lot of mainstream New Agers believe. A lot of mainstream New Agers believe in a collective shift in consciousness, and I believe that we can access the knowledge, information, power within to experience that shift that we need to make, that we are here to make, and we may have different roles to play. I'm here to make the shift that I need to make in my own life to go to the next level, and there is a next level. oh, there's far more than this particular world that we're in right now. And I'm fully aware of that. But I'm also fully aware that not everybody's going to wake up. So the difference between the Alex Ansary today and the Alex Ansary 12 years ago, 10 years ago, when I started out in Portland, Oregon, on Access TV, then it was about getting people to wake up, even Portlanders en masse, to the idea that we had a corrupt system and we need to at least start over on the local level. Okay? There's a lot of people that are still humping that train, if you will, or that thought pattern. And really, there's a lot more focus that some people have over controlling others and their religious views than actually working on themselves. And having said that, that particular YouTuber who has his series on the Archons, he started to discuss the amount of people that are followers of the Abrahamic religions. And no offense to anyone, but for those that don't know, when it comes to Gnosticism, there is some real skepticism regarding the God that a lot of people believe to be the real God. Okay? And it's very possible for certain, I would even say not even aliens, but earthbound spirits that may be powerful that are here or projecting their energies into Earth or before human beings. Projection technology, things of that nature. It's also very possible we could be seeing that in the future, as a lot of people anticipate the return of Jesus Christ with a violent sword. So there's a lot of predictive programming going on with regards to that, but a lot of people don't know that there is another belief system out there, understanding that the true creator does exist, but is not the same creator that has presented itself in these books. Simply said, right? And how can man, right, fully understand the mind of God, personalize God? And this is what philosophers have spoken about for thousands of years. There are people that are a part of that now. There are some people, right, that are misusing their energy of thought with anger towards the idea of God forsaking them or punishing them, leaving them in the ditch without maybe a greater understanding of how the universe works, how to see themselves as something other than a victim. You know, there's a lot of people that say don't be a victim that are actually playing victim themselves on a racial level. And it seems the media has done a really good job, and they can literally custom tailor their message to hit every racial demographic or perception of racial demographic. Okay, so there are multiple different programs running of fear at the same time from these different groups. And it all seems to be random, but it's not random. You know, it's interesting when Donald Trump says this is the calm before the storm. I've said this is the calm before the storm for a long, long time. He means it in a different way. But it's interesting that I've said that for years, and now Donald Trump says that. A lot of people are fearing right now. And again, we have this announcement from a Russian official about North Korea doing a test of a missile to hit the West Coast. Okay, this is heart-pounding material. And a lot of people see conspiratorial material as very heart-pounding, but they want people afraid. It's a cry wolf scenario because there are greater threats coming later on. So I'm not telling you to panic. I don't think that people should be staying in some of these areas that are obvious repeat targets that we've known about for years. West Coast areas, East Coast areas. But I've made that decision for myself. You can do what you feel is right for you. Who am I to say that somebody isn't supposed to stay in Los Angeles or stay in Portland, Oregon, or stay in Seattle or stay in New York or stay in Miami, Florida, or to stay in Washington, D.C.? Who am I? Who am I to say that they shouldn't be there for whatever's to come? Who am I, really? But I do know that I made the decision over 10 years ago that I needed to get out of West Coast areas for the things that I believe are going to be manufactured. This global war. Even what someone would call an invasion, or some would say an inventation on the part of UN peacekeeping troops. There's a lot more talk about that in the underground, if you will, in the alternative media. This has always been the plan, to take America down to a certain... So how does this fit in, though, with spiritual growth? This is a period where, as many of my videos have gone into, I think a lot of people are being entrapped by something to turn towards really dark, evil ways. Even things that haven't even happened yet. It's a real highway to hell. Not everybody believes in the idea of a soul being entrapped or being encapsulated by an Archon-controlled matrix system, but I do. And I believe in escaping that. Furthermore, I believe in making an honest attempt to help other souls escape from this. And who knows why, back to the soul family idea, some of us have this information. I look at others and they're saying what I'm saying. I look at others and I see disinformation. I see others mirroring their disinformation. And it's like we're on two different sides. There literally seems to be like a good side and a bad side within the alternative media. And we're not organized on the good side. We just do our random stuff because we're working on the individual path. We're not seeking to do the conferences. We're not seeking to do the fame and whatnot. They're just organic souls, not just alternative media, but just organic souls on a larger level that may be a part of a real awakening. But when I see others steer it towards collective and they start going everybody, I disagree with that. We are sharing space with others, and their job is to keep us down from evolving, from raising our frequency, and to misdirect others. They can't be saved. They have to save themselves. They have to have their own shift in consciousness to where, they shut off certain media sources, to where they have their own, spiritual experience. All we can do is point the door, put out information, and do our part to help people get beyond the illusions of separation. And that's big. That's nationality. Illusions of separation. Look at two football teams, like duking it out in, the streets of someplace somewhere. Right? Illusions of separation. Gang warfare? Really? Illusions of separation. Men and women fighting over jobs? Manufacture illusions of separation. Manufacture scarcity on top of it. Ooh, man. And people wonder why I moved out of urban environments. So, there is a lot that I can say to the person that's watching from an urban environment, because that would be most of you. And breath is important. It's important to know that you're responsible for centering yourself, healing yourself within that regard. There's far more people, looking at astrology and looking at other people to clear them instead of just go over the basics of what they're eating, the basics of what they're watching, the basics of whether they're chain smoking or not, or addicted to some other substance. A lot of people are trying to dance around some obvious truths about their own self-improvement when they ought to just start with the basics. But with regards to breathing, and I've made some previous videos titled Psychic Protection. Check those out if you haven't already. And there's more time spent to that. But just find something that works for you and stick with it, whatever it is. If you're going to start a business, right, or you're going to start a puzzle, or you're going to start a website, or you're going to start a painting, you want to finish it. So with regards to your spiritual practice, it's important that once you start waking up, that you attempt to take it all the way. That we attempt to take it all the way. And we can't get there all at once, but we need to make those attempts and not fall back into unhealthy ways of thinking. There are people that literally think that they are awake. We got some heavy cloud cover now. Not the most natural of skies. We can't really escape that, because I believe, though, in spirit over matter, and not letting the potential existence of certain geoengineering realities put us into a state of fear. Because that's where a lot of people are, in a state of fear. So much of the internet and the news, right, that people thrive around is in these false fears, false fear matrices, false invasion matrices. And then you have some people that ironically have an interest in false conspiracy news, but also false spiritual teachings. Misunderstandings of the law of attraction. It makes sense for people that are evolving their own frequency to be attacked by other beings that may be connected in with something that is masqueraded as a god for so long, when the real creator is far more removed from that particular entity or intelligence. So the idea of people being angry or resistant to the idea of a true, intelligent, loving creator above all this because of what happened to them in church or at the mosque or at the another temple of some type or religious place or at the hands of a human. One thing we know about humans are imperfect. So, yeah, we can easily fall out of balance and be pulled under. We got to stay afloat energetically as aspects of our world go under. No, the world is not collectively waking up. Yes, it's important to literally put up a mirror. Back to meditation, visualize a mirror reflecting back that negativity that wants to infect you or hurt you. And it can come from a human being. It can come literally in the form of an article. And you got to put a mirror up or somehow clear out the pain within you that that article triggered. You could be part of a demographic and that particular article is saying, hey, there are people of this demographic that are being raped or killed. And you can live part of your whole life traumatized, reading about things on the internet and personalizing it because it's natural. We've been put into groups. We've been put into racial groups. We hear about fears of America's future. Hell, we're Americans. You know, groupthink, and more groupthink. That's also important to realize that in the future, there's going to be multiple realities happening at once. Some people are going to be drawing some really negative things to themselves because that's the path they've been on. Others, they're going to find their friends, they're going to find their family, and it's going to be by accident. That's why I realized I can't force some of my goals or things that I want to experience in this life to happen now. I have to do the footwork, keep doing the footwork, and I'm going to let everything else. I'm going to let the puzzle pieces. There's some rocks down here. I'm going to let the puzzle pieces fall where they are and then start putting things together from there. By the way, I was in town recently. I'm going to pause on this deep thought. You know, I don't think too deeply about certain things. You know, I don't worship nature, but I believe that we should be connected with nature. There's a difference. And there are people in our world that will confuse our appreciation for that which is natural with nature worship. Right? So we need to be aware that there are these programs that seem to be embedded within the collective human consciousness. To say, ho, 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 dead end, stop here, ho, ho, ho. Don't learn about this. Don't learn about nature. Don't learn about trees. Don't learn about the sky. Don't learn about the sun. Don't learn about rocks and the different types of rocks and their particular characteristics. Don't learn about those things. Don't learn about plants. Ooh, ban the plants. And some people, their love of nature literally begins and ends with smoking a particular herb. And that's it. Back to the video game. Back to the Family Dollar for more candy. That's as far as they go. Oh, man, don't think too hard, man. Just relax. No, certain things are meant to be abused. We're supposed to use things in a mindful sense to expand our consciousness and evolve our lives and evolve in some way, shape, or form, not devolve into animals and barbarians, and to promote that people devolve while confusing it for evolving. There's certain elements of progress that have been built up for decades in cities, in communities, and states across the United States, regardless of the conspiracy theories, regardless of the dark side, regardless of all those things. And there are people that almost seem soulless. They act like they want to tear that apart and take us back to the dark ages. And we've been on this path, especially since 9/11. And I'm not surprised to see it accelerate to the point where it is now, at a fever pitch. So we have to survive. Somehow or another, we were born, we incarnated into a world where we would be tested with like the most extreme circumstances, to the point where the position of our planet is going to be continuing to shape, move, and reposition itself over the course of our lifetimes, and those of us that'll be here for many, many years. And with that comes other changes, asteroid risks. But see, with this increased radiation, knowing the war psychosis, some people literally go on the hunt. They want war, and they don't even realize they're connected to something else that is influencing unbalanced individuals, and I would say even causing some possessions. So we're literally cast down, right? Maybe us spread out these souls, but connected to a larger body of energy. And we have this hidden knowledge within. But our memory's been wiped. But we have this hidden knowledge within and powers. And it is like a movie. It is like Dark City. And it's like we're being toyed with at this time because we're being studied. There's a number of things going on in the physical. Obviously, potentials regarding cloning and off-world realities. But what about the soul inside the human body that's in that farm? And so, the great contrast and challenge that we're facing now and feeling under the spotlight as we become aware of all these things has the ability to take us beyond what we previously were, when all that's left is to tap into that power within, to remember who we are as souls, beyond the earth personality, beyond our first, middle, last name, beyond our weight and height. It's like I went to the dentist first thing, what's your weight, height? Just step, question, birthday. That's my birthday, where we're more than the time on the planet in which we were born. See, that's why some people spend more time on astrology and doing people's charts and looking deeper at the soul inside the human body. Going beyond the chart, going beyond, I'll say, Chronos, Saturn, and that whole idea of the time entity, right? Going beyond that. So that's how I would advocate people go through the future. You start seeing these attempts to scare you, right? North Korea here in World War III, and it's coming at a time in which we're going to be going into the next solar cycle. And it's not about worshiping the sun, but really understanding it does correlate with changes in consciousness, breakthroughs in ideas. And so, I've talked about this more in other videos. I don't want to go too in depth, but the nuts and bolts of it is the idea that we are being oppressed and attacked and our world literally shook up by these dark entities, because that's the time where we do need to be making the evolution of the soul. First of all, we have the experiences, right, and the temptations. We evolve by turning away from all this darkness and not letting the entities of this world contaminate our consciousness and take our consciousness away from the true source, creation. See, and the disturbances they're creating on the earth have the power to do that, or to redirect energy to the false god. Right? People start praying again, putting their energy in certain directions that I'm not so sure is connected with the true creator. We're talking about the world religions, many of them. So we'll end it here. You have the power in any urban environment to tap into your breath and separate, right, from that taxi or the environment around you, to bring your energy in and to know that you can be spiritually sovereign. You don't have to let the energy vampires of the street, the archonic interference, the stares that you might get at the market, pull you in and ruin your day. Because ultimately, a lot of that stuff is there to sap your energy, attack your soul, as you start becoming more activated. There's a part of you as a soul inside a human body, in some cases, if you're on that path of evolving, to where there might be colors and energies that other people that aren't comfortable picking up on those vibes of just energy, it'll wig them out, and they'll be frightened by it. And that's something that has to be said. This is why a lot of people are suffering. It isn't necessarily their karma or something that they created. It's that we're going through some sort of turbulence in the universe. But ultimately, it's there to help us grow. I'm Alex Ansari now, signing off from rural Colorado.